are one thought away from experiencing your life differently. Same moment, different perspective. And that can change everything. Not later, not when something else happens, right here, in the middle of what you're already doing. Welcome back to the Motivated Savages podcast, where we live bold, lead fearless, and ignite our path forward. I'm Jody Savage, and today we're diving into something that can reshape how you experience your life, starting right where you are. This isn't about waiting for change. It's about recognizing what might already be available in the way you interpret what's in front of you right now. Because the way life feels can begin to change the instant your thinking shifts. And once you start catching that, as it happens, everything begins to open up. More clarity, more possibility, more connection. I saw this clearly the other day while doing something simple. I was looking at the bookstore, the growth, the traffic, new books coming in, authors stepping forward, everything gradually building. And I paused for a second, not to change anything, just to really look at it. That's when it hit me. There wasn't just one way to interpret what I was seeing. There were multiple perspectives available, all at the same time. One sounded like, there's still a lot to figure out. Another felt like, this is coming together. Same data, same screen, same exact situation, but two completely different internal responses. One pulled my energy inward. It felt tight, like I needed to do more, fix more, figure things out faster. The other opened everything up. It felt steady, like something real was forming, like I was already in motion, like I could keep building from here. Nothing outside of me had changed, not a single number, not a single result. But the way I felt shifted immediately. One created pressure, the other created momentum. And that difference started with what I thought. The more I paid attention to it, the more I started seeing it everywhere. Not just in work, in everyday life, in small moments that would normally pass by without much thought. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. If you're writing, you might catch yourself thinking, this isn't landing yet. And then, almost in the same breath, this is starting to form. If you're building something, creating, designing, shaping something over time, you might think, this isn't where I want it. Or you might see it as, this is evolving. If you're working with people, leading and teaching and supporting, you might feel, this isn't connecting. Or, this is reaching someone in a way I can't fully see yet. If your work is steady and hands-on, growing, crafting, maintaining something real, you might think, this is taking longer than I expected. Or, this is moving forward exactly as it should. Same effort, same situation, different internal reality. And I've caught myself in all of it. Moments where my attention goes straight to what isn't there yet. What still needs to be done, what hasn't fully come together. And other moments where I'm looking at the exact same thing and seeing movement, seeing growth, seeing something that's already in progress. Nothing around me changed, just the way I was looking at it. Same life, different perspective. This is where things start to open up. Every situation you move through is shaped, at least in part, by the thought you bring into it. And that thought carries energy. Not in a complicated way, in a very real, very practical way. Because that energy begins to influence how you feel, how you show up, what you choose to do next. And those choices begin to shape what happens moving forward. Thought, energy, action, result. This pattern is always in motion, quietly, consistently, whether you're paying attention to it or not. But once you do start to notice it, something shifts. You begin to see how much possibility already exists around you, because your attention starts to sharpen. What you focus on begins to stand out more clearly. What you expect becomes easier to recognize. What you're open to starts to show up more often. And suddenly, things that once felt hidden start to feel visible. Not because they just appeared, but because you're seeing them differently. And that's where it becomes powerful, because you realize you're not just reacting to your life. You're participating in how it unfolds. This connects to something I've mentioned before, the white feather moments. Those small things that seem to carry a little more meaning than you expected. You're moving through your day, not really looking for anything, and something catches your attention. Not loudly or dramatically, just enough to make you pause for a second. For me, it's been white feathers. And what's interesting about that is they may have always been there, scattered along the same paths, showing up in the same kinds of places. But once I started noticing them, they seemed to appear more often. Not because something outside me changed, but because something inside me had shifted. My awareness had expanded. And once that happens, it's hard to go back to not seeing it. For you, it might not be a feather. It could be something else entirely. A pattern that keeps repeating. A certain kind of opportunity. A conversation that lingers longer than expected. A feeling that starts to become familiar. Something subtle that begins to stand out once your attention moves towards it. And then you start seeing it again and again, in places you would have overlooked before. Not because it suddenly appeared, but because you tuned into it. And that's the connection. What you give your attention to begins to reveal itself more clearly inside your world. When I bring this back to what I'm building, the bookstore, the community, the authors, the readers, I can feel how much has already been set in motion. And at the same time, I can see how easy it would be to look at it differently. There are different ways to take it in. One perspective says there's still more ahead. Always reaching, always looking at what hasn't happened yet. Another says this is already unfolding. Something real is taking shape. Something is moving and working. Same path, same progress, two completely different ways to experience it. And I've felt both. Moments where I'm thinking about what's next, what else needs to be done, how far there is to go. Other moments where I can actually see what's happening right now. The movement, the connection, the growth that's already there. Nothing changed on the outside. But internally, everything feels different. One feels like waiting. The other feels like progress. And that shift begins with a thought. You may be closer than you think, more aligned than you realize, already moving forward. It might simply be a matter of how you're viewing it. And once you see that, everything starts to feel different because you realize something powerful. You are always one thought away. Now here's something to try this week. Find one situation, just one. Something that feels uncertain, in progress, or not fully there yet. Take a little pause. Instead of reacting to what you normally would, ask yourself, what's another way to see this? Not the perfect answer, just a different one. Stay open, stay curious. Let the new perspective exist without rushing past it. And then notice what changes, how it feels, how you respond, what you choose next. Because even a small shift in thinking can create a completely different experience. And that experience can lead you somewhere new. I'm Jody Savage, and this is the Motivated Savages podcast. Live bold, ignite your path. That's the Savage way. If this message resonated, share it with someone who might be one thought away from seeing their life a little differently. And if you want to carry this message with you, check out our merch line at motivatedsavages.com. We've designed gear to remind you to live bold every day. Together, we're building the Savage community, a movement of people choosing purpose, growth, and bold living.